Perhaps you have visited the presentations of the last day, then you will know that we have the live voting as an innovation at the Congress, and we will have 8 live votings today. And that leads me to the first topic, dealing about mega events, and we will have the opportunity now to check the live voting for the first time. You can see on the slide that you have the question, how do you assess the importance of events for tourism and destinations? Please only press one button, 1 or 2. Events are of great importance for tourism destinations. This is the option 1, and option 2 is the importance of events for tourism and destination is rather overrated. Please press the button. So here's the result, which is pretty clear. So we have 94.3% events are of great importance for tourism in destination. And I think our first keynote speaker is happy about this result because he's talking about global events or how to create global mega events for enthusiasts, the best practices of Goodwood Festival of Speed and Goodwood Revival. And I welcome John Barnett. He will give the first keynote. He's the general manager of Goodwood Motor Circuit. I welcome you on the stage, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the vote as well. I'd have been a little bit worried if it wasn't a good vote in that favour. This is Goodwood House. It's set in 12,000 acres of a little pocket of West Sussex, and it's seen to be England's greatest sporting estate. A business set within 12,000 acres, and it's home to the largest lowland organic farm in Europe. It is home to the Goodwood Motor Circuit, home to a 90-bedroomed hotel, an exclusive hunting lodge called Hound Lodge, 2 golf courses, 1 championship golf course, a flying school, a health club, and a very successful farming business in terms of retail products. So we produce our own cheese, beer, ice cream, butter, pork, beef, and so on. And yet, within that estate, we have 2 global events. One is called, as introduced earlier, the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and the other is called the Goodwood Revival. And the reason for that is that sports and entertainment has really been at the heart of the estate ever since the Duke of Richmond first settled there over 300 years ago. House parties and entertaining people in a very glamorous and rich way has always been in the blood of the family, and the same blood of the family that live in the house today, as has sport. Sport is very much part of our DNA, and DNA and authenticity and uniqueness is something that really is a thread all the way through my presentation today. People are also of extreme importance. I will touch on this a little bit, but when we recruit our people, we recruit them for 5 key skill sets. And they are think customer, the ability to think customer, to take personal responsibility, to have really good communication and trust, the ability to encourage excellence, and then the ability to work together. And they go through an assessment centre to assess them for those skills. Our belief is, with our DNA and our other attributes that we'll talk today, if they have not got those skill sets, we are unable to employ them to deliver the kind of experience we want. To put the success of the wider estate into context, there are now only a handful, really, of estates in England of this nature that are still in the hands of the family. Most of them are now run by charities or trusts. And the success of that is truly in their ability and wish to entertain guests that have like-minded passion for sport. The global mega events that we hold, a typical event will bring £25 million worth of business to our local economy. That is not Goodwood itself, that's our local cafes, restaurants, hotels and so forth. We typically provide 40,000 bed nights for a major event to our local hotels. And to the wider economy, we generate an income of around £35 million, which on top of that, we pay £8.5 million per event, roughly, to the Chancellor of the Exchequer in value-added tax. And I'm saying that in a positive way, of course. So why is sport so central to Goodwood? Well, sport has played a pivotal role in our DNA. Hunting was the passion of the first Duke in the 18th century. Cricket was the passion of the second Duke, and the rules of cricket were written at Goodwood and are held in the vaults of the house today. Horse racing was a third Duke. Public horse racing, the first meeting took place in 1802, and today our largest event of horse racing is called Glorious Goodwood, which some of you may or may not be familiar with. Shooting has taken place on the estate since the 18th century. We shoot partridge and pheasant, and typically a day's shooting at Goodwood now retails at around £30,000 for the day. And there is a wait list to shoot. It's seen to be one of the best shoots in the country. Golf, the 7th Duke of Richmond, his children were mad golfers, and they had James Braid, who was a big golf designer at the time, design our championship course in 1914, and we now have a very, very large pay-and-play membership that has made that business very successful. And flying also. We had the 6th Duke was a major aviator. He designed his own planes, and his son then went on to motor race as well, which I'll come to. Motor racing, though, is our lifeblood. And you might look at the estate and think, well, why is that? The 9th Duke of Richmond was a famous racing driver, and he turned the Second World War airfield into the Goodwood Motor Circuit in 1948. And with the growth of Formula One and the speed that came with it, its sad closure came in 1966. But the then Lord March was a small boy of 11 years old, and he is today our CEO and our chairman. He was just 11, and he watched the last car cross over the finish line at the Goodwood Motor Circuit. And he saw his grandfather, who was a big racing driver, and he gave himself a commitment. And that commitment was that motor racing would return to Goodwood. The circuit reopened in 1988, which I shall talk to you about in a minute. And the business I manage at the circuit now handles over 240 motor racing events a year. They're daily events rather than the major events. The Festival of Speed has been going since 1993 and now hosts over 200,000 people over 4 days and is sold out on every day. And the Goodwood Revival, a 3-day event held at the motor circuit within my business, holds 150,000 people over the 3 days. It's motor racing that I'm going to talk to you about today primarily. To give you some idea of why motor racing is so ingrained in our DNA, between 48 and 66, Goodwood Motor Circuit was the social and spiritual home of British motor racing. We hosted contemporary racing of all kinds, including Formula One. It was the scene of legendary battles, and for any of you that have a love of motorsport, there will be names that you know. So our track has been graced with people like Bruce McLaren, Sterling Moss, Fangio, Graham Hill, Jackie Stewart and Jack Brabham. And the 11-year-old boy, Lord March at the time, made sure his commitment was fulfilled. And with the circuit having closed in 1966, on the 18th of September 1998, exactly 50 years to the day of its original opening, the 11-year-old boy that saw the last car cross the finish line at Goodwood, and that was now the Earl of March, reopened the circuit with the 3-day event that is now known as the Goodwood Revival. And those are some images there. But what makes it so special? It is truly unique, and I would encourage, not surprisingly, any of you, even if you're not into your motor racing, to at least come and visit one day. It has become the most celebrated historic race meeting in the world, but it's also the only major sporting event to take place completely in a period theme. It is an extraordinary spectacle and what we call a magical step back in time. We will only accept the very, very best in terms of machinery. Nothing races on the circuit that is a replica. It is all genuine. The typical combined value of the cars at the Goodwood Revival is well over £600 million. Ferrari GTOs, AC Cobras, Auto Unions, we've had the entire Silver Arrows collection race at Goodwood. The list goes on, and they race wheel to wheel, and they crash. And they're privately owned vehicles that race hard. We create a film set. Guests don't come to the revival to watch the action. They come to the revival to be part of the action. Guests are not asked to dress for the occasion, but they do dress for the occasion. The attention to detail shines through in everything we do, and we embed within the audience, the spectators, a group known as the Goodwood Actors Guild. There are 500 people that we plant within the audience, unbeknown to them, of course, that are brilliant at dancing 50s jive and are brilliant at picking pockets in a humorous way, and then they give it back, and a whole range of other skills that surprise and delight our guests. Entertainment is around every corner. It is not just about the track action. Live music, dancing, air displays, vintage shopping, after parties, hair salons, fashion shows. It is a totally immersive experience. So 150,000 people over the 3 days. 80% of our audience own 3 or more cars. We over-index considerably on the average UK income. We attract 600 accredited members of the press, including the likes of GQ, Vanity Fair, Tatler and Vogue. And digitally, we had 1 million views of our live stream this year. I'm going to play a small clip now, please, of the Goodwood Revival. Hopefully that will give you some flavour of what you can see at the event. The Festival of Speed is another great example of why we will not do anything unless we have a real, true reason to believe that we own a space and that we have the DNA and the right to do it in a unique and genuine way. In the summer of 1936, the then Earl of March, better known as a racing driver and Brooklands winner Freddie March, staged a private hill climb in front of Goodwood House. That was the picture you first saw. It was the Lancia Car Club on the winding drive that goes up past the house that is now the Goodwood Hill Climb. And in the winter of 1992, the current Lord March and our chairman and CEO, his grandson at the time, recreated that motorsport event the following summer. And the Festival of Speed was born. We expected around 5,000 people to turn up, and on the first day we had 15,000. It is now the largest, greatest celebration of car culture in the world. The Festival of Speed is uniquely supported by Formula One teams. It attracts the most famous and accomplished drivers in the world, the rarest and most exotic machinery, and it all competes up the Goodwood Hill Climb. It is unparalleled. We tell the story of motorsport from the pre-war era right up to the modern day F1. The Festival of Speed brings together the best selection of racing cars and bikes anywhere in the world. And it's all about proximity. We pride ourselves on the customer experience. And even though the event has grown dramatically over the last 24 years, the guests who come to the Festival of Speed come because they have complete and unrestricted access to the drivers and the cars. The paddocks are completely open. There is no high wire fencing. Everybody mingles together. So a car that you could only get within 10 meters of a Formula One race is there for you to go up and touch. Sometimes they invite you to even sit in it. The list goes on. We invite over 600 cars and motorbikes. We have over 200,000 guests. And we have over 660 accredited media, 86 TV crews, 20 hours of original TV programming, and 11 million viewers watched our live programs on Sky Sports and ITV last year. And digital and social reach is becoming increasingly important. And last year, our web traffic, consisting of over 20 million views of our live stream during the event, came from 182 different countries. And I'd like to think that this is why. Could we play the video, please?
I think this is probably the most special weekend for motorsport ever. You know, there's everything here, from World Championship winning cars now in Formula One to the classic cars, heritage cars. You got cars that go back, you know, decades and decades, and so many great memories for so many people over those periods of time, and they get to see the car in the flesh here.
It's just an amazing atmosphere. We're all like-minded people. We all want to see the cars in action. That's the main thing. We want to see them pushing. We want to see them crashing. Let's face it. Yeah.
It's really amazing. It's awe-inspiring. It's incredible. I don't think there's anything like this in the world.
What's nice is the audience, the guests are so close to the edge of it, and they can really get a sense of the atmosphere, and you've got a good show for them.
Every year gets bigger, better, more exciting. There's more cars, there's more action, there's more stuff to do. It's a unique experience.
It was just really cool to showcase the precision driving, the speed, you know, the workmanship that goes into our cars, and just to be alongside the greats of so many world champions. Definitely an awesome event to be a part of.
at Goodwood this year. You do not get a festival quite like this. It's unique, it's crazy, it's madness, the cars are insane, it's great fun. Can't wait to come again.
It's like motoring heaven here. It's motorcycles, cars, helicopters, planes.
It's a sort of assault on the senses when you come here.
I know, but it's the best kind of assault. And to hear them start and then...
Not only the fans get something great to see, but even us as drivers, it's an absolute joy to be here.
Every year I'm on this planet, I'll be here.
Thank you. So what's next, and what do we know? Well, we know what we interview our people for in order to be able to create events like that. We know that we will do nothing unless it's in our DNA. We've talked about the various Dukes of Richmond and their individual sporting passions and how that has driven where we have sought to create these kind of business opportunities. And maybe to explain it, many people come to us and say, why don't you do a live music event? Why don't you do hot air ballooning? The reason we won't do it is because it's not in our DNA. We can't deliver it in a truly unique way, we believe, and that we believe we have a reason to deliver it. Authenticity. We've talked about our desire to create authenticity in all we do and present the absolute pinnacle of the sport that we represent. And that is what those events endeavor to achieve. And absolutely impeccable service. We have hospitality at our absolute roots, and it's about delivering impeccable service, whether you're buying a €40 ticket or a €4,000 hospitality experience. So what's next? We've effectively looked at 3 different options. The challenge we have as a business is that although we're very confident about our templates, our DNA, our people, our authenticity, the challenge for us is our events are sold out, and our 365-day businesses, such as our golf and the motor circuit, which I look after, are also pretty much sold out. So we have a challenge. We are in West Sussex, and where do we go from here? So we've looked at exporting events. The challenge for us there is that they're very high risk, high capital investment, and actually, does it really live up to our mantra of being in our DNA? So how can we take motorsport and put it in front of a building in France or Germany when in fact that isn't our spiritual home? We are starting to export our IP, and we've signed recent contracts in the US, Germany, and China, primarily around developing motor circuits with private investors and bringing our event skills to those contracts. But perhaps most importantly and successfully, we have reached out beyond our territory in West Sussex to create a global digital asset. We've identified 6 core fan bases, and from that we have developed a new website called Goodwood Road and Racing, and it's split into 6 different genres. The Supercar Run, which is all about supercars. Flat Out and Fearless is all about historic racing, which is at our absolute core. Inside Track is a look behind the scenes and the inside scenes behind the action. First Glance is all about innovation and technology. Overdrive is all about classic cars. And Racing on the Edge is about modern motorsport, Formula One, and so on. We now produce over 1,500 videos a year to engage those people and create a consistent conversation with them. And with the help of our digital sports agency, Engage Sports Media, we have effectively transformed our audience numbers. In 2016, we had 69.3 million views online, 1.6 million engagements, and over 1 million subscribers. Every month last year outperformed 2015. We've introduced new initiatives such as user-generated content call-out strategies, Facebook Live, Snapchat Story, those kind of things. Our most viewed video last year was the McLaren P1 going up the Goodwood Hill climb, which during the event took over 3 million views. That's outside of the event, obviously, people viewing globally. And 48% of our digital conversation now takes place overseas, not in the UK. And that is probably the single best and most significant achievement in terms of taking our brand outside. And in 2016, we signed our first ever digital partner with MasterCard, and they are our presenting partner of the Festival of Speed. So we're now one of the most prolific producers of motorsport content globally. We drive engagement and additional demand for all our various businesses as a result, from a Festival of Speed t-shirt on our retail site to track days at the Goodwood Motor Circuit, or demand for our organic meats, cheese, milk and beer, or the opportunity to stay in our hotel or our hunting lodge. Our global site has delivered business beyond just the engagement. So looking to the future, we would say there are 3 key traits and lessons we have learnt if we're going to continue our success. One is we have to continue to innovate. From our large events to our day-to-day business, Goodwood strives day to day to push the boundaries. We need to be brave enough to try new things and to be the absolute leading edge of customer experiences. Number 2, we must stay true to the Goodwood brand, and that is our DNA. The Goodwood Estate has been the seat of the Duke of Richmond for over 300 years. All of us that work at Goodwood feel an immense privilege for being able to do that. But we are there to preserve the estate for the generations to come. Recruiting people with the right behaviours that we've touched on and staying true to our core values is absolutely imperative. And working together, our challenge is to build a sustainable future for the estate for the next 300 years. And finally, we must engage globally. We're building Goodwood as a truly global brand, and the next current stepping stone is digital in the evolution of the estate. It brings experiences to people around the world. Reaching this audience is absolutely essential to us to attract new global partnerships such as the MasterCard deal I touched on. And it also opens the estate to many fans, a bit like the football model, that will never ever be able to walk through the gates to our events. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you, John, for your interesting presentation. To be honest, Goodwood was for me unknown until today, but I'm
Shame on you.
not really enthusiastic in motorsports. But I think we learned a lot about motorsports and events. And to summarize the most important message of your presentation, I would say DNA is very important to be authentic.
Authenticity, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much once again.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the presentation. We will have a short break now until 11:25, and then we will go on with Dubai and the importance of mobile devices. Thank you very much.